Hello, everybody, and we are back with another episode of Working Title. And hey, look at that. I'm on time for once. That's nice. I actually made dinner at the right time. Today, we have two completely new contestants here, which is very exciting because I love seeing when we have new people on here because they're always a little bit nervous. They don't really know what to expect, but they do come up with some great ideas. So I'm excited to see what they're doing. What I gave them today is called TimeWarp, as you see in my nice little banner down here. Basically, I told them to make a movie, pick a movie plot, something of that sort, and then change the timeline. Make it in the past, make it in the future. You don't have to use the same characters. You don't have to do anything, but I just need the general plot to be the same. So we are going to get this started. First, I'm going to introduce somebody that everyone here on Opening Night Trivia knows pretty well because at the moment he is the champion. He has won a couple other things on occasion. I don't know this guy at all. I've never seen him before in my life. Oh, hey, Jake. How you doing?
Who are you?
I don't know. Just some dude. This is just my show. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually this got me kind of more nervous than most trivia matches I've played in to do this. I kind of chickened out the last time I was supposed to be here, but this time I'm sort of ripping off the Band-Aid, and I'll be interested to see what you guys think of what I came up with.
I'm intrigued. Yeah, I wasn't going to let you back out again and make me pitch again because I was not prepared for this one. The last one was okay. But glad to have you on here. I know you know your trivia, so let's see if you can be creative with the movies you watch. Secondly is somebody I have not been on stream with yet, but I have seen him in a match here in Opening Night Trivia League. A lot of fun, very entertaining. I'm very excited to have him on here. Ash, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm excited for this. I'm intrigued.
I'm very nervous, but very excited for you to hear this horrible movie I have planned.
See, and if you know my taste, I love horrible movies, so that might work out in your favor. Anyway, so earlier Ash was on the call first, so we let him pick, and he decided that Jake is going to pitch first. So for anyone that might be watching this for the first time, round one is called Hit Me With Your Best Plot. I will say this every time. Do not make fun of me. It is my show. I get to do what I want. Anyway, so what each contestant will get is 5 minutes to give me their plot. I will ask for what movie and what they're doing first so we do not waste any time. Jake, since you are going first, give me a heads up. What movie are you time warping and where are you warping it to?
Okay, I'm up until like 5 years ago, this was considered like one of the best modern crime thrillers, one of the best movies of the 90s. I am going to be pitching The Usual Suspects as a Western.
Oh, okay. I like that. I was about to say, if you say Con Air, you win, but you do not. But I'm still intrigued by this, so I would like to hear this. Jake, what I will do is I will not start the clock until you start talking. So take your time, get yourself ready, and when you start talking, I will start your 5 minutes.
Okay. We'll start like now. Okay. So Houston, 1875. We open in the train car of a locomotive where we find infamous Irish outlaw Dean Keaton sprawled on the floor, mortally wounded, looking up at a man whose face we can't see. Keaton obviously recognizes him and looks on in horror as the man shoots him in the chest and pours a flask on the ground and lights a match. We then flash back 6 weeks earlier. 5 men are rounded up in a local jail in connection with a variety of stagecoach robberies that have taken place in the last month. These men include Keaton, small-time criminal partners Michael McManus and Fred Fenster, explosives expert Todd Hockney, and Roger Verbal Kint, a day laborer and ex-slave seemingly in the wrong place at the wrong time. After a humorous scene where they're each asked by the sheriff to say, "Give me the keys, you fucking cocksucker," they're in a cell together where McManus proposes a job for them. A bank stagecoach is making its way to New Orleans with $10,000 and a stash of diamonds in the lockbox attached to the stagecoach. McManus is a bit of a hothead, so he wants to go in guns blazing, but Verbal, sensing an opportunity to change his circumstances, suggests a plan that will eliminate the bloodshed but still get the merchandise. We then cut back to the train from the beginning, which is stopped in a remote outpost outside Houston and surrounded by law enforcement. It's at this point that we meet U.S. Marshal Dave Couillon. He has a history with Keaton, who's eluded him several times over the years, and is determined to get to the bottom of what happened on this train. He goes to the local marshal's office, where he has Verbal in custody. Kuyan thinks Verbal will tell him everything because he's not the career criminal the other guys are and will just want to keep his head down. Kuyan fought for the Union in the Civil War, but he isn't exactly the most woke guy either, so he doesn't really think Verbal's that smart and will easily cave to any pressure he puts on him. Verbal begins to recount his story to Kuyan. His plan to rob the stagecoach is successful, and the other men, who other than Keaton aren't exactly the most enlightened bunch, begin to begrudgingly respect him. McManus wants to go to his fence Redfoot to take care of the diamonds. Everyone's hesitant due to the fact that only McManus knows Redfoot, and they're understandably feeling the heat from pulling this job and want to lie low for a bit. On the condition they all go with McManus, the group meets Redfoot in a small town outside of Houston, where he tells them about a train robbery set up by a corrupt attorney known as Old English, who is asked to meet with them. They do so, where he reveals that he arranged for their initial arrest in Houston, and that he works for Master Soze, a notorious gangster who's basically the boogeyman to criminals all across the South. Only Verbal seems not to know who he is, but judging by the looks on everyone else's faces, he understands this is someone you do not want to mess with. Old English tells them that in order to escape Soze's clutches, they will have to rob a train that is secretly carrying millions of dollars worth of Chinese opium to the East Coast, and will do so at a remote train station 100 miles west of Houston. Cut back to the present, where Kuyan interrupts Verbal. Kuyan's obviously heard the name Master Soze, but he thinks he's just a myth and that no one like him could possibly exist. Verbal then tells Kuyan a story he heard about Soze. He was a big slave owner back in the day, whose success caused jealousy among his neighbors. So much so, they decided to work together to take him down. They killed all his slaves and took his family hostage, telling him to sell them his land, or they would kill his wife and 2 young children. Soze calls their bluff and kills his own family before also killing the other plantation owners, saying he'd rather see his family die than give up everything he'd worked so hard to build. He then steals these owners' fortunes and creates a criminal enterprise consisting of opium and arms smuggling, and other landowners in the surrounding area must pay tribute to him or risk similar wrath. Verbal then wraps up his story. Fenster's killed because he got cold feet about the job. The men believe Old English responsible, so they go find him at his office and threaten to kill him. But he reveals that Soze has planned to have their loved ones killed, including Keaton's socialite girlfriend Edie, who's tagged along with her rich father, who's meeting with Old English about a big land deal. Faced with no other choice, the gang decide to go through with robbing the train. They get there, they take out the guards, they realize it's a setup. There is no opium on the train, and Hockney and McManus are killed, while Verbal hides in the train station as he sees Keaton murdered by the mysterious man. It's at this point Kuyan calls bullshit, because in addition to the opium, there was a man who was a survivor of Soze's plantation rampage who had seen his face found murdered on the train. Kuyan believes Keaton is Soze and used the opportunity of this train robbery to fake his own death and take out his rivals in the opium trade. Verbal, clearly terrified at Kuyan's outburst, buckles under the pressure and admits Keaton is behind it all and that he was used by Keaton to set up McManus, Fenster, and Hockney. Realizing that Verbal is just an ex-slave and way over his head, Kuyan decides to let him go. A few minutes later, he's looking around the office and multiple realizations strike him at once. He notices multiple names of petty criminals on the wanted board share names of people and things Verbal describes. And finally, he drops his mug of tea as he sees the brand he's been drinking this whole time. Old English. He rushes out of the marshal's office, but it's too late. Verbal has gotten in a stagecoach with Old English, and they share a smile as they drive away, Kuyan frantically searching around for any signs of the legendary Master Soze.
Man, you're not kidding. You timed that because that was 5 minutes on the dot.
I told you.
I do. Usual Suspects Western does work. I do appreciate you kind of pick something that is a classic crime movie right now. Like everybody knows it, everybody loves it, and making it a Western works really well. This actually would make sense. The only time I feel like you need to change it up is instead of giving me the keys, maybe you might want to change it to give me the reins because there probably isn't a lot of keys.
Keys to the lockbox.
Oh, okay. That makes a little more sense. I was going reins. Makes more sense now. I get it. That was the only time I was like, But I do appreciate that. It really does work. I like the fact that you're using it, kind of changing it up just enough so it doesn't feel exactly like the Usual Suspects. But a Western is the right way. I am definitely going to need you to send me that because you flew through that, and there's no way I wrote all that down to get that.
I'll send it to you.
That's going to be necessary. I like it. Very interesting. Great movie, and putting it into a absolutely perfect timeline where it would also work. All right, Ash. What is your movie and where are you putting it into? So before you start the pitch, so we can already get that out of the way.
So I will be taking a sort of fun, gender flipped, campy approach to Tootsie. from 1982.
Okay. Interesting. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tootsie. All right. Same rules. Whenever you start, take your time, relax, and whenever you start talking, I will start your 5 minutes.
Okay. So, listen, I've heard from the Snyder himself, Jeff Snyder, that there's been a bidding war amongst the studios for this hot new or sort of sought after commodity, a huge property. Okay. I'm talking about Tootsie is going to be remade. And so, as I understand it, this movie is going to take place in the 2020s, if that's what we're calling this decade. So, Brianna Cracker is the main character in this movie. Okay. And she's an acting coach or an acting teacher. And she's an actress in her own right. And she's in her early 30s or so, similar to Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman. And she's had success in the past, but she's notoriously hard to work with for various reasons. And so after months of not finding work, she sort of fires her agent out of in a rage of passion, a fit of rage. And then soon thereafter, she becomes aware that the film is casting a male supporting part. So she has this bright idea to dress as a man, essentially going in drag and auditioning as an actor named Justin Sane. And to be clear, no one knows that Brianna is posing or passing as Justin while auditioning for this movie. So after a series of callbacks, the job seemingly comes down to either Justin or another actor named Lukewarm. So after realizing this, after realizing that the two are sort of circling this job, Brianna or Justin takes matters into their own hands and kills Luke. And so now Brianna is shocked and disgusted with herself after stabbing and killing Luke. But at the same time, she's willing to do whatever it takes to sort of get to the top, get that role, find success as an actor. And eventually this becomes a pattern of killing people over time who sort of come close to figuring out that Brianna is really Justin. And so I'm talking about like distant family members and friends and neighbors, people like that. And so whoever's playing detective in that specific way sort of gets killed along the way. And now, fast forward to a few months after the film is released, it's a critical hit, a commercial hit, and the studio sort of comes forward and says, hey, we're going to run an awards campaign for Best Supporting Actor for you at the Oscars. And then this does come to fruition, and Justin Sane is Academy Award nominated and all of this. And one by one, the other nominees are murdered by Justin during the night of the Oscar ceremony, leaving him as the only possible recipient for the award. And so, of course, he wins. And now at an after party, Justin is shaking hands, kissing babies, that sort of thing. And another celebrity approaches Justin and says, don't I know you from somewhere? And they begin to piece together that, oh, their daughter was a student at Brianna's old work as an acting teacher. And then the film sort of ends with a bloodstained little gold man Oscar statue, and the audience is left to infer that that Brianna or Justin has killed the last person to accuse them of not being who they say that they are.
That was cool. I like that. You took the plot, and I like that's kind of what I was looking for. You took the plot and completely changed like the secondary aspect. It's been a while since I've seen Tootsie. I'm pretty sure Dustin Hoffman didn't start just slaying people,
No.
to my knowledge. But it might have made a better movie. I don't know. It sounds interesting. Very creative. Not too much of a change in the decade, but you definitely changed the idea of the movie a little bit. So took it a different way. As in every one of these are two completely different ideas, a very different plan with the movie, a different time period that works perfectly with how the movie is already. So we're going to move into the Garth, I hope you are feeling better. I know you weren't feeling too well recently. And at the TimeWarp at the beginning, Spence, just a jump to the left. Surprised no one put this in a Rocky Horror Picture Show or used that.
I don't know the movie well enough to do that.
I'm very curious to see what some of your actors are, honestly, because especially Ash, I'm very curious who, since you're going to be first, we are going to move on to the second round, which is, nope, that's not it. I'm still new to this somehow. We're casting call. That's what it is. It's casting call. So, Ash, who is your cast? Who do you have? And also, by the way, your name Lukewarm. I like that. That's fantastic. Great.
So I'll start with lukewarm then. I think as someone who is only sort of in the first act of the film, I think Daniel Radcliffe would be a very fun choice to have sort of compete against Just Insane and sort of be killed in the first act of the film. For the star, for Brianna Cracker slash Just Insane, I would say Kristen Ritter, I think would be a really fun choice. Someone who I believe is in her early 30s and someone who can deliver the comedy as well as the very few serious moments that will sort of be in the film anyway. And then at the Oscars, there will be some celebrities, right? So like Alan Cumming and RuPaul and Gina Davis, Melanie Linsky, people like that. And the director, I'm going for Clea Duvall, who's sort of fresh off their hit off of Hulu's Happiest Season, I think it was called.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have heard of a movie Duvall has done. I can't guarantee that, but
Okay.
it does sound familiar to me, and I know that there are some good ones in there. I like the casting. Daniel Radcliffe is very interesting. I'm the Harry Potter guy here, not as much here, but I do appreciate a lot of his other stuff. He can be an interesting. He can do a lot of different things. I think he would work. Kristen Ritter is a great choice. I think she would be perfect as this because if she's going to start killing people, you've seen her dark side in Jessica Jones. She can definitely be a pretty comic, like the Don't Trust to Be in Apartment 23 and stuff like that. So definitely a good casting. I like both of that. Very interesting. I'm very interested in this movie. Jake, who do you got with all of your sweet Western usual suspects?
Yeah, so I got quite a few people here that I gotta fill in. So the most important role and the one who I changed the most, obviously, is Verbal, because just both kind of his background and obviously switching races. So I went with Lakeith Stanfield as Verbal because he's somebody who projects quiet intensity better than I think almost anybody working right now. And he's so unpredictable from not just scene to scene, but line to line, just in general. So I think that somebody who you never really know what you're getting. And obviously with this character, he's obviously hiding this big secret. But he also has to show that he's vulnerable, and I think we've seen him be sort of like play vulnerable in something like Get Out, for example, or even in Judas and the Black Messiah, which just came out. More on that later. And then I'll do the Marshal, Dave Coulion. I picked Ethan Hawke to be the Marshal because I think he's somebody who could really go toe to toe with Lakeith, and he's just a great actor, and he's done Westerns before. He can just have like the huge beard and just be really like he's somebody who is a presence as well. He's not going to be he's somebody who we know he's somebody who projects intelligence, but also is also humane and somebody we can really kind of be on his side, even though not exactly the most sympathetic. But all right, and then the other suspects, Dean Keaton, I went with Michael Fassbender, because he's somebody obviously he's very handsome, and he's somebody who's like has a swagger about him that you would understand that these other guys would gravitate to him. He's this sort of larger than life kind of notorious criminal that everybody knows. And I think he's somebody who I think has that sort of charisma that I think he would be very good in that role. And then Fenster and McManus. McManus is like the wild card. I mean, obviously Stephen Baldwin in the original, we don't need to talk about him. But I went with, again, going back to the Judas and the Black Messiah, I went with Jesse Plemons, who is also somebody who he's quietly become one of the best character actors there is out there right now. So like, talk about somebody you have no idea what you're going to get. Like you see something like Judas and the Black Messiah, but then conversely, you see like Game Night, his character in Game Night. which is just like, and he's just wild, and he can kind of do anything. Or even like season 2 of Fargo, where he's also absolutely fantastic. And then Fenster, I mean, I'm not gonna try and do somebody else like mumble mouth like Benicio. That's sort of unique. You can't really go there, but a similar larger than life personality, who is similar larger than life personality, who has sort of experience in the Western genre. I'm picking Walton Goggins. Because I just really love Walton Goggins. My Justified heads out there know what I'm talking about. And then Hockney was played by Kevin Pollak in the original, known more for his comedic work. So I kind of went the same route here, and I picked Goggins' co-star in this HBO show called Vice Principals. I went with Danny McBride for Hockney, because he's somebody who's really good. If you've ever seen Eastbound and Down, he's just really good at giving people shit. And that's what Hockney's about. He's the wise ass of the group. He's somebody who's just like always skeptical, always questioning things, always just being sassy. And Danny McBride is just great at that. And then just a couple other, the 2 smaller roles, Redfoot the Fence. I went with Michael Pena. Just because, I mean, A, Michael Pena is great, and B, someone similar Luis energy, like from Ant-Man, that I'm looking for. Somebody who's just like, he loves the sound of his own voice, and just is like, loves to give shit to McManus, just because he can, and doesn't really care about like screwing them over. He's just sort of in it for himself. And then the lawyer, if we're talking about slimy British actors that are in their 40s, the first person I thought of was Aidan Gillen, aka Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, because very few people do dastardly and slimy these days quite like that guy. So I think he'd be really good as the skeevy lawyer. So yeah, and then director. So Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote the original script and won an Oscar for it, he's executive producing. But my final trip to the Judas and the Black Messiah I'm going for Shaka King as my director. Because I was a big fan of that movie, and I love how he took the subject matter and sort of weaved in sort of the classic crime thriller elements to it. And I think that I would be really intrigued to see him kind of get a more high profile gig where it's clear he has sort of this love of the crime thriller genre, and I want to see him apply that to this different setting. Because I think he has a lot of potential as a director, and I want to see him work in a little bit of a different atmosphere. Sorry that went super long, but I have a big cast, so forgive me for that.
You do have a big cast, and it makes sense. I like a lot of it. Lakeith Stanfield's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors of the time. Like, he's great. I mean, Sorry to Bother You just blew me out of the water. It was great. And then you see him in something as simple like The Quiet Intensity. He gets like Someone Great, I believe it is. I know he just did like I think that's what it is, the Netflix one that he was in, only for a little bit, but he has that quiet intensity. I see what you're saying with that, but he's good. He can be comical. He can be just intense. He has a lot. He's a lot going for him. Ethan Hawke, there it is. Going for that Peggy vote. I actually
Lakeith Stanfield too. Someone Great. Yeah.
As soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, I get it. Makes sense for me that he would be in, because he has been in some Westerns in the time. Fassbender, solid. Jesse Plemons is great. I like that a lot. Game Night's the first thing that popped in my head, and I was like, that guy's a little bit of a weirdo. This works. I do like Walter Goggins. I mean, he's a classic Western guy. Darth in the Shield. Yeah, I always like him. You went Michael Pena, sticking with the theme. You got like 6 degrees of separation in here with like 10 different movies with Walton Goggins and Michael Pena, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Danny McBride and people. I like it. I like the cast. Apparently, I really need to see Judas and the Black Messiah. I've been wanting to see it for a while. I just haven't gotten to it yet because I've been watching 1,000 other movies. But that is definitely high on my list. So I will give that a shot. Never seen Game of Thrones. Can't really say much about Aidan Gillen, but I know who you're talking about. And
He's the dad in Sing Street. I know you've seen Sing Street.
Okay, got it. I have. Okay, perfect. I like both casts. Your cast obviously a little bit more full, a lot more people. You had to do a lot of work. Ash's cast just quick and to the point with a fantastic lead there. So we move into the part that can go one of many ways, and I call it the comment section. Because have you been on the comment section anywhere? People can be assholes, but they can also say nice things. And that's what this is about. I want you guys to tell me why your movie is better than the other, what maybe issues you find with the other movie. It's not don't go too off the wall, people. This is a family show. But, just talk it out. Let me know why your movie should be the one that you get. And if I hear you guys kind of saying the same thing, I'll cut it off and I'll give you a 30-second closing. There's no timer here. I'm just going to shut up, sit in the background, and let you guys go. So whoever starts, go for it.
Okay, this is why I try to avoid most comment sections, because I contrary to what people might think, I don't like being mean to other people. But I guess I'm a big Tootsie fan. I like sort of transferring it to modern day. I guess one sort of question I have about it is, so what exactly is the tone of this? Is it? I assume it's a little more of like a dark comedy.
Yeah. So that's the goal, is for it to be sort of exactly what you just said, like a dark, sort of campy comedy, almost Paul Verhoeven-esque, maybe something a little darker than a Ryan Murphy American Horror Story kind of situation.
That's not a good comparison point to have with Ryan Murphy. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
I love Horror Story. Just going to say it. I love
the early seasons are pretty good.
He's a bit of a yikes from me. Asylum was okay until the last 3 episodes. But anyway, I guess. And is there, so in this I guess my only concern is it seems like when you're sort of balancing that tone, I feel like it can maybe come across as a little myopic, in that we only are really getting this Just Insane or Brianna Cracker, which great character names, by the way. Really only getting it from her perspective, which can work. Something like one of my favorite movies, American Psycho. But I guess for me, I just kind of want you to sort of, since you didn't go as long as I did, so I'm just sort of trying to get you to sort of flesh it out a little bit and get me to kind of understand more of what you're going for from tone. Are there other sort of subplots going on? I guess that's just sort of what I'm asking here.
No, that's totally fair. I think that is something that I absolutely need to flesh out, as sort of a B plot, essentially, right? So maybe we could also follow. So in Tootsie, there was Bill Murphy as the roommate, right? So maybe I could do something along those lines as well. That's a great point, actually. I know this is a debate, and I'm supposed to be mad at him and all this stuff, but that's actually just a good point, I think.
Anyway, we've had a couple of these where everyone's just the nicest people in the world to each other. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if go for it. If you have anything about his, feel free.
See, I'm trying to. The whole time you were pitching the plot, I was trying to think, where can I poke holes in this storyline? And the only thing that I can think of is, do you really think that Shaka King is capable of a Usual Suspects type of Western, as you put it? Because I don't necessarily see that for him, but I understand where you're coming from with that choice.
I think with that, we just haven't really seen enough. It's sort of like the thing where you get some indie director does some cool indie, and then they get a Marvel movie. Yeah. And you're like, really? But then it winds up being pretty good. Like the guy who did the Spider-Man movies, for example, John Watts.
Yeah.
He'd only done 1 or 2 little tiny indie movies, and Shaka King already has studio experience with this movie, Judas and Black Messiah, and he's already he's already done sort of this twisty crime thriller that has all these sort of balls up in the air. So I think he would be able to stay in that realm. Obviously, this is sort of not a linear story. It's always tricky for anybody to do, but I do think that, particularly from a craft perspective, I assume you've seen the movie.
I have, yeah.
Beauty Supply and stuff. Like, it's a great looking movie too. And I think that, and it's clear he's making choices from a visual perspective, and I think that boldness will serve this as well, especially with just sort of the way that the fundamental sort of tweak of the verbal character. I think he would serve that really well, which is sort of why I went there more, which is sort of why I went that route. Yeah.
I got a quick question. Actually, the chat for Ash. This is actually perfect. Kind of like what Jake was going in. Would it be a dark with some comedy, maybe more like a Scream type movie where it's more of a dark horror, like a slasher, but you get that comedy or comedy with some dark stuff, more like a Clue, which I know Jake is a giant.
Way to pander, Garth.
Pandering left and right. That's what this show is all about.
Yeah.
Ideally, it would be 50-50 more so, but certainly more closer to Clue, I think, in my mind at least. Of course, when it becomes developed and all these things, who knows what it could be.
There's a lot of times
multiple endings.
You can find
out theatrical.
Maybe the stuff on the Oscar was just jam and they made bread. They made a sandwich. Who knows? This is good. All right. Do you guys have anything else? This is pretty calm. I don't think you had too many holes. You guys have anything else?
I guess I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to sort of do this, fill out your pitch for you, but I do wonder. So obviously, like, you're more than welcome to kind of like, I'm just curious, like, is really the only thing you're taking from Tootsie the frustration with not getting bigger parts, so gender flip and go from there, and then you sort of add on these sort of dark comedy element. You just kind of take that central idea, or are you willing to kind of add in more stuff from the original? Will there be so, like, obviously in the original you have, like, he falls for Jessica Lange's character, and so is there a love interest? Is there like somebody, like a cop who's trying to figure out what the hell's going on? Because obviously this would be a huge story where you have like these famous people dropping left and right. It would be like it would break Twitter. So yeah. I'm just sort of like, I guess I'm just sort of interested. Like, this isn't a criticism. I'm just sort of interested in, like, would there be sort of like a media element to this? Because obviously celebrities being murdered, that would get some attention.
I think you're right. I think that would be a great aspect to it, is like the sort of social media sort of news sort of angle to it. I think that's totally fair. I would like to maybe I should add some sort of love interest, like you were saying about Jessica Lange. I just wanted to make it so different that it was very loosely based on Tootsie, which I probably in hindsight is not the best idea. No, but you're right that oh no. I think you're right. I think I should add some sort of love interest to this. I think that would add a new layer and dimension to it.
All right. I like the idea of switching it around a little bit. Before I go ahead and give my opinions and all, I'm going to give each of you about a 30-second. I'm not timing it. Just try to keep it to about 30 seconds. Kind of final statement. Why yours is good. Why yours should get the green light, if you will. Jake, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Okay. So obviously The Usual Suspects now is very problematic because of the past actions of its director and star, which is why I think it's ripe for this sort of revisionist take on it. Take the bones of it, but change the genre, change the cast, and because the bones of it are great, it's a great story, but change a lot of these surface elements, and even though it's set in the past, still make it feel more contemporary, and like that is like reflecting that in the diversity of the casting and behind the camera as well. So I think that the bones are there for it to be updated. Like, even though it's in the past, make it feel more modern.
Perfect. Makes sense. And Ash, like 30-ish seconds. Go ahead whenever. Closing arguments.
I think that when you think of camp classics, I think you probably think of Clue, or you think of Showgirls, or But I'm a Cheerleader, things like this. I think it's time for there to be a new camp classic that's very relevant to today, or sort of comments on the past in some way. I think that this Tootsie remake could be that. I think this is and having Clea Duvall as the writer and director, I think would be an interesting layer to that as well. But all due respect to The Usual Suspects, I think that this will be more of a streaming hit and maybe a box office hit than maybe The Usual Suspects as a Western.
All right, perfect. I hate when people do this. I hate every single time we go to the Critics' Choice and two people pitch two exactly opposite things. Not once has two people they've been like, oh yeah, we're gonna be like kind of close in the idea, but just maybe one or two things are different that make it easier for me. That's not how this works. Never easy for me. What we got here? Did they give the award nomination? No, I think at that point I wouldn't nominate anyone new because clearly they're going down.
If it's day of, kind of hard.
We don't want to lose anymore. Okay, I really like both these pitches. I'm a fan of The Usual Suspects. It's been a while since I've seen it, but putting it as a Western, I'm kind of intrigued by because I do enjoy a good Western. If you make a Western right, it is fantastic.
All Westerns were made white once upon a time.
So pretty much. But I did just watch Yojimbo, which felt like a Western, like the classic. Yes, I know, little pandering, but it felt like a Western. I really enjoyed it because of that. Ash, I love this movie. This is right up my alley. Like, this is the absolute. I'm going to watch this over and over again and enjoy it. Army of Darkness style, Tucker and Dale versus Evil style, that horror comedy class. Like, both of those together is exactly what I look for. In the end, for this alone, for the pitch, only because I feel like it was a little more fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go with Jake for this one. But if yours was more fleshed out, I absolutely love this idea movie. When it goes to the poll, I'm not going to lie, you're probably going to get a lot of votes because it's very interesting and a lot of people like that.
Also, people don't like me, so you probably.
That's not true at all.
There are some, but we do. We like Jake here. We're big fans. But both of you guys, great. This was a fantastic pitch. Very different. I like both of them, and they kind of. This is the first time I really met you, and I'm kind of getting to know your style a little bit, and your style is similar to mine. I really like this idea for Tootsie. You completely did the swap of it and making it a horror comedy even better. I like that. Jake going with the classic, pick a really good movie and make it better. You're right. It does, even though it's a classic, as people would say, could probably use a reboot at this point, just due to the director and the stars and anything. You make a reboot with this cast, it's going to get a lot of love. But that's just my opinion. And you know what my opinion means? Absolutely nothing. So that's what happens here, because I just say something and then the poll will decide some more. Jake, this is your first time doing this without being in my seat. So did you enjoy this? You want to come on again at some point?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe in a while, give more other people a shot. But yeah, this was fun. Like this sort of idea in particular, where I kind of was able to take the bones of something else and put my own spin on it instead of having to come up with something from whole cloth, was kind of a good way to get my feet wet on this. So maybe maybe in the future I'll be more willing to do something out of thin air. But
not willing. You won't be willing. I'm just going to give it to you. Your choices. I'm just going to be like, guess what you're doing? Out of thin air. Deal with it.
Okay.
But no, very happy to have you on. Do you have anything you have going on to plug or anything like that?
Like you said, I've done stuff around here. The title will be on the line sometime in mid-March. So keep your eye out for that. Otherwise, yeah, just like look my name up on Letterboxd. Follow me, I'll give you follow back. It's fun over there.
Perfect. Excellent. Yes, and sadly, I will not any longer be in contention to play you in the title, but that's for another day. Ash, really happy to have you on here. I'm glad we were able to get this going. Did you enjoy it? Do you have fun?
I loved it. I really loved it. Listen, I need redemption. I need redemption against Haley in the trivia world. I need redemption here against Jake in the working title world. So listen, next time I'm going to flesh out a whole idea. It's going to be great. Okay.
I mean, I really liked your idea. Flesh out a little bit more. It very possibly wins. But that's first time on here. Now you get more of an idea, you get more used to the feel of it. Do you have anything to plug or anything going on?
Look me up on Letterboxd. You follow me, I'll give you a follow back too.
Perfect. I like it. There you go. For everyone out there, anyone that else is interested in this, we only have a few people that I think I have left on my list that haven't done this. I'm working on getting everyone in here, but hit me up. Again, no movie trivia knowledge necessary. It's just for fun. Just come on, try something new. It's a good time. I will do this as I always do. Check out Feature Presentation Presents, FPTL on Sundays, Fantasy Film Fights on Wednesdays. I believe we're doing the Coppola movie Maelstrom coming up soon this weekend, possibly. That might be me lying, but if Tony's in the background, he can prove that. I think that's what's going on. Nicolas Cage, Francis Ford Coppola, Sofia Coppola, kind of all of them. Obviously, Nicolas Cage. If either of you picked him, you would have pandered to me and would have won. So now you know. Also, opening a Trivia League, we got the Geek, we got this going on. We got a lot of rookie matches coming up. We got the title contention going on. I believe one of them just dropped today or yesterday. And other than that, please find us all on social media. And thank you for joining. For myself, for Ash, for Jake, thank you for being here. See y'all